Brothers and sisters, we are living in a time when the earth itself seems to shift beneath our feet, when nations rise, alliances break, and the destiny of billions hangs in the balance. Today, we witness not just politics, but prophecy unfolding, a moment when courage must meet history and decisions shape generations yet unborn. India has chosen a path that echoes with power, sacrifice, and faith in its own strength. This is not just a story of governments. It is a story of people, of purpose, and of a world being rewritten before our very eyes. Stay with me. The decision of India to cut ties with America and lean toward Russia and China signals more than a diplomatic change. It is the reshaping of the global order. For decades, the United States has stood as a dominant force, wielding influence across continents, economies, and militaries. Its presence in South Asia, particularly through its strategic partnership with India, was considered one of the anchors of U.S. foreign policy. But when India steps away, the ground beneath that balance begins to tremble. This move does not simply represent a bilateral disagreement. It reflects the rise of multipolarity. Nations today are no longer bound by a single superpower's orbit. Instead, they are forging their own paths, building new bridges of influence, and asserting independence in a world that is no longer neatly divided into East and West. India's pivot is a bold reminder that the 21st century is not going to mirror the dominance of the 20th. The global power balance now tilts toward a chessboard where every piece is moving at once. Russia brings military strength and energy dominance. China wields manufacturing and economic leverage, and India positions itself as the democratic voice of billions, seeking autonomy from Western dictates. Together, these alignments could challenge the long-standing monopoly of Western alliances. For America, the shift is not just political, it is symbolic. Losing India as a strategic ally means more than lost defense contracts or disrupted trade. It signals a diminishing grip on the very regions that once guaranteed its supremacy. The balance of power is no longer about who controls the most territory or wealth, but about who can create coalitions that reshape tomorrow's world. India's move places it firmly at the heart of that transformation, altering the global stage for years to come. India's renewed embrace of Russia is more than a matter of convenience. It is a return to a relationship rooted in history, trust, and shared strategic interests. For decades, Russia has been one of India's most reliable partners, especially in the sphere of defense. From fighter jets to missile systems, from tanks to nuclear technology, Russian support has been woven into the fabric of India's military strength. This long-standing cooperation gives India confidence that Moscow will continue to stand by its side, even in times when Western alliances prove uncertain or conditional. Beyond military ties, energy forms the backbone of this partnership. Russia, rich in oil and natural gas, offers India a steady supply of energy resources, an essential lifeline for one of the fastest growing economies in the world. As global energy markets remain volatile, India's alignment with Russia ensures access to fuel at prices less burdened by Western sanctions or political strings. This not only strengthens India's energy security, but also reduces dependence on the United States and its allies. There is also a strategic dimension in diplomacy. Russia serves as a bridge for India in forums like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, amplifying India's voice on the world stage. Through Moscow, New Delhi can navigate global politics with a stronger sense of leverage, standing against unilateral Western influence. What makes this partnership unique is the element of consistency. While Western powers often shift positions based on changing administrations or economic interests, Russia has historically treated India as a trusted partner. This sense of reliability appeals deeply to New Delhi, which now seeks partners willing to invest in long-term cooperation rather than short-term gain. In turning toward Russia, India is not simply choosing a friend, it is choosing a legacy of trust and mutual respect. India's pivot toward China in the economic sphere marks a profound shift in strategy, one shaped by pragmatism rather than sentiment. Despite historical border disputes and political rivalries, both nations recognize the undeniable potential of working together in areas where their interests align. China, with its unmatched dominance in manufacturing, infrastructure development, and technology, presents India with opportunities to accelerate its own growth in ways the West often withholds or attaches conditions to. Trade between the two countries has already shown massive volumes, with China serving as one of India's largest trading partners. By deepening this collaboration, India secures access to affordable technologies, raw materials, and industrial goods that fuel its domestic industries. In return, India offers China an enormous consumer market of over 1 billion people, making it a partnership that rests on sheer economic gravity. The idea is simple. When two of the world's largest economies find common ground, the ripple effect reshapes global commerce. Infrastructure is another cornerstone of this collaboration. China's experience in rapid urban development and high-speed connectivity could play a role in India's own push toward modernization. Roads, railways, ports, and digital networks, areas where China has proven efficiency, can become channels of growth for India if managed carefully. Technology also stands at the center of this relationship. With China advancing in fields like artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and telecommunications, India's collaboration allows it to leapfrog into new phases of development without waiting on Western corporations. This doesn't erase tensions, but it demonstrates that in the age of global competition, economic logic often outweighs political disputes. For India, the partnership with China is not about friendship, but about necessity, a choice driven by ambition to secure growth, stability, and influence in a world where economic strength defines true power. The decision to distance itself from America carries weighty implications for India, as the partnership with Washington has been one of the most significant in recent decades. For years, the United States has been a key supplier of advanced defense systems, intelligence sharing, and high-level technology transfers that fueled India's military modernization. Moving away from this relationship could slow or complicate India's access to cutting-edge weapons, cyber capabilities, and space technologies that only the U.S. and its allies have been willing to provide. Beyond defense, the economic dimension is equally critical. American investments have flowed steadily into India, building industries, creating jobs, and nurturing innovation in sectors like IT, pharmaceuticals, and renewable energy. By loosening these ties, India risks losing a portion of that capital inflow as U.S. companies may begin to shift their focus toward more predictable markets. The absence of American support could also affect India's ability to integrate more deeply into global supply chains dominated by Western powers. Diplomatically, the strain on U.S.-India relations may weaken India's influence within alliances like the Quad, which includes Japan and Australia alongside the U.S. These groups were formed to balance China's growing dominance in the Indo-Pacific, and without American cooperation, India may find itself navigating regional security dynamics with fewer strong allies by its side. At the same time, this distancing sends a strong signal. India refuses to be seen as a junior partner or a pawn in someone else's strategy. By turning away, it asserts its independence and positions itself as a power capable of making bold choices. Yet the loss of American backing will test India's resilience, forcing it to find new avenues for growth, security, and international credibility in an increasingly competitive global order. India's decision to align more closely with Russia and China inevitably reshapes the security architecture of Asia. For years, the Indo-Pacific has been a stage where the United States and its allies attempted to counterbalance China's rise, relying heavily on India's participation to maintain equilibrium. Now, with India stepping away from Washington and drawing nearer to Beijing and Moscow, the regional balance of power begins to shift dramatically. The formation of an India, Russia-China bloc could create one of the most formidable axes in global politics. Each nation brings its own strength. Russia's military firepower and energy dominance, China's economic might and technological edge, and India's demographic power, coupled with its geographic advantage at the heart of South Asia. Together, they could challenge long-standing U.S.-led alliances like the Quad and AUKUS, weakening Washington's ability to project influence in the region. For neighboring countries, Japan, Australia, and smaller Southeast Asian nations, this change raises both fear and uncertainty. Some may double down on their dependence on the United States, while others might cautiously tilt toward the new bloc, seeking stability through fresh alignments. The South China Sea, the Indian Ocean, and Central Asia suddenly become contested zones, not simply of trade, but of military strategy and geopolitical rivalry. India's choice also alters the security dynamics with Pakistan. By leaning on Russia and China, both of whom already have ties with Islamabad, India may recalibrate its approach to long-standing disputes, potentially reducing conflict or, conversely, complicating them further depending on the balance of influence. Ultimately, regional security in Asia becomes less predictable. The presence of a strong India-Russia-China alliance challenges the dominance of U.S.-backed security networks, ushering in an era of multipolar tension where every move, treaty, or military exercise could redefine the fragile stability of the continent. India's bold decision to distance itself from America and align with Russia and China has triggered a wave of reactions both at home and abroad. Within India, public sentiment is mixed. For some, this shift is celebrated as a declaration of independence, a refusal to bow to Western pressure or conditional partnerships. It represents pride, sovereignty, and a chance to stand tall on the global stage without leaning on Washington's approval. On the other hand, critics within the country worry about the risks, fearing that breaking ties with the U.S. may lead to economic setbacks, reduced access to advanced technology, and potential diplomatic isolation from Western allies. The debate reflects the diversity of India's democracy, where bold moves are often viewed through the dual lenses of opportunity and caution. Globally, the announcement has sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles. Western nations, particularly America and its European partners, see this as a setback to their strategic vision in Asia. They interpret India's decision as a weakening of collective efforts to counterbalance China's influence in the Indo-Pacific. For the U.S., losing India as a close ally undermines years of investment in building trust and cooperation. In contrast, Russia and China have welcomed the move with open arms. Moscow views this as a reaffirmation of an old friendship, while Beijing sees it as a breakthrough, an opportunity to transform a historic rival into an economic and strategic collaborator. Other nations, from Africa to Latin America, watch closely, recognizing that India's realignment could inspire them to reconsider their own positions in a shifting world order. The reactions highlight how one nation's choice can send ripples far beyond its borders. India's decision is not merely about foreign policy. It is a moment that tests alliances, reshapes diplomacy, and sparks debates about the future of international cooperation. India's move to sever ties with America and turn toward Russia and China does not exist in isolation. It sets the stage for a larger transformation in global politics. For decades, the world was shaped by a unipolar order where the United States held the dominant position. Today, however, the landscape is shifting rapidly toward multipolarity, where power is distributed among several key players, each pursuing its own strategic interests. India's decision accelerates this trend, signaling that alliances are no longer dictated by ideology, but by pragmatism and survival. The emerging India-Russia-China alignment introduces new dynamics into the global system. It challenges the traditional dominance of Western institutions, offering an alternative vision of cooperation built on resource sharing, infrastructure development, and non-Western financial networks. For countries caught between the West and this rising bloc, choices will become increasingly complex. Smaller nations in Asia Africa, and Latin America may feel encouraged to diversify their alliances, no longer feeling pressured to side exclusively with Washington. Geopolitics in this new order becomes less predictable. Competition for energy resources, technology, and trade routes will intensify. Strategic choke points such as the Indian Ocean, the South China Sea, and Central Asia could become hotspots of negotiation or confrontation. At the same time, multilateral organizations like BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization may grow in influence, offering platforms that rival traditional Western-led groups like NATO or the G7. For India, stepping into this role means embracing the responsibility of shaping a new era. It is not simply joining forces with Russia and China, but positioning itself as a key architect of a global order where no single power dictates the rules. This shift opens possibilities for fresh partnerships, new conflicts, and an evolving balance of power that will define the century ahead. India's bold step to cut ties with America and strengthen bonds with Russia and China marks more than a diplomatic shift. It marks the dawn of a new world order. This decision carries risks, but it also carries the promise of independence, strength, and a future not dictated by a single power. The road ahead may be uncertain, but it is also filled with opportunity for India to shape its destiny on its own terms. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your spirit. May courage guide your journey, and may success always be with you. Good luck.